Hi there, it's Anne here on the Life LDC Knits channel, and this is my June and July update. It's August the 11th. I missed doing an update in June because, well, I just didn't have anything to talk about. But I've got a few things to chat about today, and I thought I needed to do at least one update in the middle of the summer. We're having a lot of heat here. We've got a heat warning and a thunderstorm watch for this afternoon, even though right now it's nice and bright and sunny outside. But I just wanted to give you an update on what I've been doing this last couple of months and talk about a few things that have caught my eye that might be on the queue list for this fall, but you never know, there might be other things jumping into the queue because pretty soon, I can't believe it, September is the Rowan Fall Winter 2021-22 release. Time flies, doesn't it? So, get yourself a cup of tea or whatever, drink water, lemonade, and let's have a little chat about what I've been doing and what I've been thinking about. Cheers. I have not really been knitting. I think I sort of knit myself out during the first 12-14 months of the pandemic. I was knitting, and I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, I didn't do anything else. This house was a tip, as they say, and it really needed a good clean. I hadn't done a spring clean, I hadn't done a fall clean, I hadn't done anything because I was numbing myself, I think, with knitting. So I started, actually the hubby and I started a big clean out, and we're doing all sorts of things, little paint touch-ups and everything. But as I rounded up all the little bits and bobs of knitting that are everywhere, I found my Lisa Richardson crochet along blanket from 2017, and you might see it here behind me. And look, I finished. Well, I did a little bit of a modification. I had sewn it all together, and the last thing I had to do was to do the outside strips on the long side and the rectangular side. And there was one of the blocks I wasn't really fussy on. It was a big zigzag, open zigzag, and I kept seeing that getting caught, dog toenails or our feet sticking through it if we used this when we were watching TV. So I decided to eliminate that, and what I did was I picked up all the little squares that I had ready for the edgings, and I made a strip on either end of the rectangle. And then I kept the edges the way they were with these big two-colored panels, and I applied just a little pretty basic. It was a treble, and then I think a double, then a single, and then another, then just a cast off edge in a multicolor, starting with the ginger, because that's the one that joined all the squares together, and gave it a nice wash in Eucalan in the Rapture scent. I love the Rapture scent. And this has been living on the back of our couch since then, because even though it's hot, it's air conditioned in here, and after being, if you've been out for the day, you come in and you're cold, you feel cold in the air conditioning. So it's been living here, and I just love it. Now, when the knit alongs and crochet along patterns are released, they are free, but it looks like after a couple of years, this is now, I think it's a 7-pound download. 7 pounds is not much for months and months of really great crocheting. Do you remember I did all the blocks? I did how-tos on all the different blocks, so that's all there on my YouTube channel. And this is what really, really, really cemented with me that I can crochet. Because if I can do all these little squares with baubles and little flowers growing out of them, and like, I just love that one. Look at the different colors there. So this is what really really made me believe that I can crochet. So it's a great project to try. So it is on the knitrowan.com website, and I'll put a link below. And that's pretty much all I've been doing in the knit category. But what else have I been doing, you might wonder? Well, don't they say that a change is as good as a rest? And that's sort of where I was headed in my crafting world. And by sort of a onslaught of little hints from different areas, I ended up trying something new. And it all started off watching Arna and Carlos, and they always mention Kate of the Last Homely House. I'm just looking at my notes here. And I watched a few of her videos, her YouTube videos, and I really noticed this beautiful design wall she had, and it was covered in these little tiny pieces of fabric that I think she's putting together a quilt for her granddaughter. And it turns out it's English paper piecing, and I hadn't really clued into that at all. But then a knit friend of mine here in town, turns out she is like the queen of English paper piecing. She has a website. Her name is Val. She has a website called Victory Stitches, and she has all the EPP supplies that you might need, and stocks some charm packs and fabrics and templates, everything that you might possibly need. Well, another one of my knit friends also caught the EPP bug. She really tempted me along because on one of my little packages of sewing stuff, we meet up in parking lots and exchange orders, because I order from here and she orders from there, and we meet up and exchange goods. She put a little hexie in my bundle. What's a hexie? This is a hexie. So it has 8 sides. It's a little piece inside. It's a piece of cardboard. In the old days, quilters would just cut up catalogs, anything that they had that was paper, they would cut them into the shape, fold the fabric around it, and then they would baste the fabric on, and then they would collect these up and then sew them together. So this is the one that my friend put in my little package. Isn't that cute with the sheep on it? It was absolutely gorgeous, and I love the look of this. And then I started wandering around on the internet looking for an EPP project to do to introduce me to EPP. English paper piecing, EPP, sorry, EPP. So on Kate, the Last Homely House website, I found a pattern for, it's called English paper pieced pincushion. And it's you buy it, it's a download, and when you download it and print it off, you cut out the shapes of the pieces you need in paper, and then you wrap them in fabric and you make yourself a pincushion. So look what I did. Now this is little bits and pieces of Kaif Facet Collective fabrics from a workshop I took a few years ago, probably maybe 4, maybe even 5, I don't know. One of those Stitchtopia workshops with Kaif and Brandon. And honestly, that workshop, after that workshop, I would have sworn that I was never going to be a quilter. I'm not going to go into it. It was just one of those things, things weren't, anyway, I'm not going to go into it. So, but English paper piecing I quite liked. And so I made this little, that's the back side. There's the front side with the nice blue button. So this is my pincushion for downstairs by my sewing machine. And I'm just going to put the pattern up here, and I'll put a link in the notes below if you want to order the EPP pincushion pattern from Kate at Last Homely House. But of course, you knew it didn't stop there. So I went to Victory Stitches, my friend Val's website, and I saw hexies, little 1-inch hexies. Little 1-inch hexies. Aren't they cute? They're so tiny. And 1 inch, the measurements, when they say a 1-inch hexie, it's referring to the edge, each 8th edge. So there's 8 1-inch sides on these hexies. And the website for Cave Facet Collective Fabrics is now Free Spirit. Scott Fortuna, I'm not sure about his name. He's on Facebook. He's a great promoter of all his different fabrics. Well, on the Free Spirit website, they have loads and loads and loads of free quilting patterns. If you need any more inspiration, of course, there are all the Cave books. There's all sorts of quilting books out there, but I decided again, because I was just starting, I saw this pattern for a hexie covered bolster. And I just happened to have a bolster in my stash downstairs that I had come across because I'm tidying up right now. I'm really trying to tidy up my stash. I've got lots of stuff going to be donated to a worthy cause. Anyway, so I found this bolster pattern and I started making, I bought some fabric from Val. I got some templates from Val. These are the Sue Daily ones. They're like they're almost like slightly coated cardboard, and so they're really great. They're firm enough that when you wrap them up, you can really feel the edge of the fabric compared to the cardboard. Now, I'm not going to go into the technique of EPP because there are tons and tons of videos out there. You can watch the Sue Daily. Or Dally, I'm not sure how she pronounces it. She is a well known with her own line of EPP stuff, EPP accessories and templates and whatever you need from Australia. She's from Australia, and also on this side of the ocean, there's Tula Pink. Everybody's heard of Tula Pink and her wild and crazy fabrics, right? And so. When I looked at this Free Spirit website, I came up with this pattern. I'll show it here first. This is the pattern. And I thought it looked really cute. And so I made myself up some hexies. These are Oreo cookie inserts. And it turns out they're perfect for storing 1-inch hexies. And I've got 5 of them here. I had a little bit of a binge this summer, and that's it. But this is because I have sort of a long-term hexie project in mind. More about that some other time. So I did start making hexies. I had got the fabric from Val. It's called, can't remember. I'll have to look that up, put it down below. But anyway, I hexied my little fingers off. I was sitting here at night watching TV and hexing, and look at this bolster cushion. Isn't that adorable? I'm just making sure it's really, as I say, it's really bright here, even though it's supposed to be thunderstorming. And then I got these self-covering buttons for the ends. Now, the one thing about a bolster is I think it should be like pushed in at the sides so that the cushion, the buttons go in like that. But you have to buy or find a great big long needle that goes through the middle of the bolster. Where do you get that? And if anybody has any input on that, let me know. But I think this is really cute. I'm thinking it might be a gift for a friend of mine who's moved into a new place. When you move into a new place, maybe it's nice to take a little gift when you visit. And I thought she might appreciate something that I'd made up. She could put it behind her neck when she's watching TV, or, behind her back. But anyway, I just love it. I think it's adorable. And I love all the fabrics in it. I subscribe to so many newsletters. I'm sure you do too. One of my favorites is the Church Mouse Yarns and Teas newsletter. Church Mouse was always on my bucket list. I wanted to visit Bainbridge Island and go take the ferry and go to the Church Mouse Yarns and Teas shop. And of course, if you leave things too long, you snooze, you lose. So there's no longer a shop, but Church Mouse is continuing as an online presence, and their newsletter is absolutely fabulous. The last email I got from Church Mouse showed off their new version of their linen stitch shawl. And Church Mouse patterns are great. You can buy the pattern, and they are constantly updating the yarns that are used in the patterns. So they're generic patterns, and they redo them in the different yarns that they are promoting or selling or finding. They change up the yarns, gives it a whole new look, but it shows how versatile the patterns are. And that's why I love to collect Church Mouse patterns. And here's my binder. I made this cover up with all the pictures of different patterns on it, but I put in this binder in plastic sleeves all the different Church Mouse patterns. And so I immediately ran downstairs and grabbed my binder and found out that I don't even have a copy of the linen stitch pattern, the linen stitch shawl pattern. So that's on my list of things to organize. I know these are available digitally, but I love to get them in the hard print. I love this hard cardboard print, and it's just a little quirk of mine. I really like printed copies versus downloads of things. Sometimes a download is what you need, but if you give me a choice, I'm always going to choose the printed copy. So I'm looking at the linen stitch. It requires 8 different colors of felted tweed, 2 balls of each of the 2 main colors, and then 6 colors, just 1 ball each. So it's a really doable. You could even do it from scraps, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of doing it from my felted tweed stash. So next time I'm headed to my local yarn store is finally opening for shopping. It's been a long haul, and I totally understand why they haven't opened. They're opening later in September. I understand why they haven't opened, because yarn stores have been busy selling online and curbside pickups and all this kind of stuff. They've turned into they were functioning really more as a warehouse rather than a yarn store. They were just a storage space to distribute yarn. So there's a lot of work to get everything back to the semblance of a yarn store before people open. So I'm so happy, and maybe I'll save getting a copy of the linen stitch shawl pattern as a really good excuse. Do we need an excuse? No. As a reason to visit my local yarn store when it opens up again for in-store purchasing. And I hope you're understanding of all your yarn stores, because they've done a fabulous job through all this for all of us knitters, haven't they? So I'm thinking, should this be a project for my fall knitting? Well, the trouble with fall knitting is there's always something new. September 2021 is the release of the Rowan Autumn-Winter 21-22 collections. And included is the Rowan magazine. It's number 70, and it's their platinum edition to commemorate their 70th edition of their magazine. 70 issues, hard copy, beautiful, beautiful coffee table book. I know knitters who buy them and don't even knit out of them, but they're just so gorgeous. I know I did that myself for many, many years. I bought them and never ever felt that I had the skills or the courage to tackle a project, but they are just fabulous to look at. So the Rowan magazine will be coming out, and of course new yarns and new collections of designs. And I'm hoping that I'm not even hoping, I am stating that the next video from me will be a review, and you know I like to do an in-depth review of the magazine. So magazine number 70, my in-depth review of the patterns. I'll highlight all the things that maybe you actually have to read the pattern to know, not just look at the beautiful pictures. And I like to know all the minutia of each pattern. And I will give you also an update of the other new things that are coming out for Rowan this fall. Probably do it in a 2-video series, one to focus strictly on magazine number 70, and another one to show off the new stuff that's coming out. I know there's a new yarn, and it'll be really exciting. So I'm really looking forward to that. So going back to me saying I was never ever going to be a quilter, well, I have to admit that I have succumbed. With my new sewing machine, I've been sewing bags and things like that, but I thought, maybe I needed to make one quilt, just one quilt. I don't have to go crazy, and I'm not really into fussy, stars and all that kind of stuff. So I found a quilt pattern. It's called Glow, and again, it's from the Free Spirit website. It's a free quilting pattern guide, and it calls for a selection of K fabrics, and it's an older pattern, so an awful lot of the fabrics are missing. But I did go off on a little jaunt down to a store here in Ontario called Red Bobbin that has, I think, every K pattern, every K fabric going. And I talked to Louise and Jim there and told her what I was looking at, and she was nimbly going from shelf to shelf and pulling out fabrics, and we put them all in a row, and we take things out and put things in, and we came up with a whole selection of fabric for a quilt. And I'm just going to line them up here so that I can fan through them for you. And I'm telling you this here because this is my way of sort of making myself accountable. I have to be accountable to somebody. So I'm going to be accountable to you guys who are watching, okay? There's a lot of fabric in a quilt. So here they are. Here they are. Oranges. This is stripes, dots, some kind of flower. Don't know what that is. There's names to all these things. Millefiori. I love this one. That's another, I think that's 2 millefioris I've got. One's blue and one's purple. Zigzaggy stripes. Big, huge. This is some kind of a border pattern, which I thought might be discontinued, but very fortunate that they had it. I love this one. And then some more zigzaggy stripes. Some of them have labels on them because they are substitutes or direct substitutes for the fabric that was called for. So this is something that I hope to do this fall when the weather gets cooler and I can spend a couple of days cutting out, a couple of days sewing, and then the fun thing about quilting is once you get the quilt top done, then you can send it off and have it long arm quilted, and then you just have to put the binding on. And I know this all sounds really simple, and I know I'm definitely oversimplifying it, but I'm looking forward to something that isn't going to take years of stitching to finish. So if you know better, if you have any words of wisdom about quilting, please make a comment below. So how have you been doing this summer with your knitting? Has it been too hot? The weather has been atrocious all over. Too hot, lots of rain, forest fires. God, you know, it's just been like an apocalypse. I've been trying to avoid the news just because of all this stuff, but I'm looking forward to the cooler fall weather. I haven't decided on a project yet because maybe I'll be doing something out of one of the new Rowan collections, or maybe I'll do something that, you know, church mousey that I've already got on hand. While I was looking through my church mouse patterns, I found that I had 2 copies of this. Let me see if I get it. It's called the Polka Dot Scarf, and I think this is adorable. It calls for Kid Silk Haze. It says a lace weight yarn. So Kid Silk Haze and Isager Alpaca. Now, I think you could substitute all sorts of yarns for this. It's a very versatile pattern. So I have a spare copy of this. So leave a comment below and let me know if you'd like to be included in a little draw for this this copy of this pattern. It's easy to put in the mail. Pop it in an envelope and I'll send it anywhere. So that's my quick and easy, and that's my quick and dirty update for August. As I say, I won't be back until I have my Rowan magazine 70 in my hands. I'll have it in my hands, and I'll be talking all about it. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you hopefully maybe not too far along, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so take care. Bye.